Hello, my name is Ann Sullivan. I'm an occupational therapist, and today I'm going to talk about a research study that talks about the facilitators and barriers that impact the transition to adulthood for young adults with autism spectrum disorder. In 2020, the CDC reported that 2.21% of all adults in the United States have autism spectrum disorder. Compared to cognitively matched peers, adults with autism spectrum disorder have high unemployment or underemployment, limited education beyond high school. Most continue to live with family members or relatives, and there's very little community or social participation. Nearly 40% spend little to no time with friends. So why is that? The purpose of this study is to understand the development of independent living skills for young adults with autism from the unique perspective of a program director at the Association for Independent Living. The Association for Independent Living is a tiered residential program in Dallas, Texas that teaches independent living skills to young adults with disabilities. The research questions for this study are: what are the barriers that hinder independent living skill development for young adults with autism? And what facilitates this development for young adults with autism? This study was a qualitative case study using a semi-structured interview and participant observation. Data analysis was done using in vivo and descriptive coding to develop a thematic framework, and the coding was consistent with the grounded theory method by Cresswell and Pope. Trustworthiness was addressed with an audit trail, triangulation of data, and member checking. Themes developed into the two areas of facilitators and barriers. First, I'll talk about the facilitators. The first that the program director talked about was experiencing failure, the need to experience failure in order to learn and grow and develop independent living skills. And she stated, if you're not failing, that means at least you're trying. If you're not failing, you're just sitting and not doing anything. A young man during the cooking class, during the observation, said, I made these same potatoes yesterday. Yesterday, I didn't spray with Pam and they stuck. So today I used Pam. So it's learning from those failures in a safe way. Learning by actively doing was expressed as being very important. So learning from a classroom activity or watching a video or discussing about it was shown not to really make much of a difference to facilitate that independent living skill development. But by actually jumping in and actively doing it, hands-on was shown to be able to facilitate that development. She stated that the ones who watch, who assist, they don't learn how to do it. So really getting hands-on activity facilitates that. The influence of peers was shown to be very important. They help each other out a lot. Coming from me doesn't mean reach them the same way. And this person is struggling just like I am, and they're still working through it. So they're able to support each other, and they see their peers as struggling like they are, which helps them through their own process. The development of habits and routines was shown to be very important. Building those habits and routines to learn those skills and work on remembering them day in and day out. Partnering with a mentor was important. The mentor gives you tools and you make your own decisions. The mentor does not want to be in charge of you forever. She wants you to become your own autonomous person. And she stated, I've had to realize that I'm partnering with them on their journey to success, so really mentoring them. She also stated that the environment is very important to be structured. The environment is important, and she said that's the nature of autism. They need structure and they need routine. And that structure in the environment helps with development of those habits and routines. Next, we'll move on to the barriers. The first area fell into the category of executive functioning challenges. There were quite a number of executive functioning challenges that fell within this range. One was not being able to connect behaviors with results or consequences, so that being able to match that up in order to change those behaviors. Also, being inflexible, being able to deal with things that are not always happening the same way, and being able to grow flexibility to be able to handle what life throws at you. She said there's a lot of teaching for impulsivity, and all of this has to happen in real time. If you talk about it later, it's gone away, and all of that learning about impulsivity needs to happen in real time, like we talked about with learning by actively doing. She talked about a barrier of being not self-motivated and that being a barrier to them developing independent living skill development. Also, the emotional regulation being a barrier to their independent living skill development. She said when they melt down, it's so extreme and intense it shakes the house. And when the meltdowns are extreme and difficulty with the emotional regulation, that makes it difficult. It's a barrier to developing the independent living skills development. She then spoke about the parent influences being a barrier to independent living skill development for young adults with autism. She said you either have a parent who is not really pushing their child to their highest potential and not allowing them to grow, or you have parents who are expecting them to become normal somehow. So the parent and their expectations and how much the parent is either pushing or expecting their child to grow, it can be a barrier to that child developing autonomy and developing those independent living skills. And she stated that a lot of parents are trying to prevent failure. The parents are trying to protect their children, which is good, but the facilitator of experiencing failure is then being blocked, which makes the parent being a barrier to their child experiencing that failure in order to gain skills. And then she states, the most successful situations I've had have been parents saying this is it, you have to figure this out, and allowing those young adults with autism to experience failure, to challenge those executive functioning skills, to grow and learn independent living skills. So the conclusions reached by this are that the development of independent living skills is facilitated by experiencing failure in the active doing of daily living skills, in a structured environment focused on the development of habits and routines, with the influence of peers and a mentor. The identified barriers to developing independent living skills include poor parent influences and the poor ability to develop strategies to overcome executive functioning challenges. These results correlate with previous research that has described parent perspectives of the transition to independent living. These include, the parent perceptions include executive functioning challenges, parent stress and anxiety, and lack of services to help the young adults with autism. This research adds to prior studies by indicating that there is a need for mentor and peer support, increased availability of services to support parents and young adults with autism, individualized mentoring and access to peer supports, and active learning opportunities allowing safe learning through failure. I hope you found this interesting. You can find a copy of this research study at this link along with learning outcomes and references. I thank you so much for staying with us, and thank you.